Awesome. Welcome, everybody. For my folks who are going to be listening on here live, welcome to our second episode of FIA Talks. And from folks who are going to listen to this later on once it's posted on our Facebook Live or our Facebook page, hope you enjoy the podcast. A little bit of a recap from our last one. So last podcast we had a couple of our FIA leaders join in, and we talked about an issue that's been going on for a while now. So if you've been, listening to different OUSD board meetings, you'll know that one of the main topics that you're hearing right now is about school closures. So last podcast we did a little bit into it, and what we ended up agreeing with and coming to the conclusion is that we understand that this is traumatizing for a lot of students, especially in Oakland where there's so many other issues going on. This is a traumatizing, experience and very stressful experience for some of our students and for some of our parents. And we actually had one of our leaders he himself went through a school closure when he was in middle school, and he even said from his experience how stressful it was for him and for his family. So we understand how difficult it is. And now, a couple months later on, it looks like these schools are going to be closed. And what we came to the conclusion is that we as a community, we as educators, community leaders, we have to make sure that we provide an easy transition for these students who are going to be going to these schools, right? Like these students are going to be going to different schools now. They're just changing from different teachers, different friends that they're used to seeing. We got to make this transition as easy as possible and make sure that they don't experience something similar of what they just went through, right? So that being said, let me go ahead and introduce myself before I go into this topic for today. My name is Javier Baraz, and I'm the youth organizer with Families in Action. Have been doing youth organizing for a couple of years now, with my main goal being to empower the students who I work with here from Oakland for the most part. And a little bit about the topic. So for today, we're going to be talking about the A through G requirements, which is a topic that's super, close to our home here at FIA, but also to our partners at Energy Converters as well. So a big shout out to Dr. Charles Cole, who really leads the work as well with Energy Converters, and then with my brother, who I'm introducing a bit, Marquise Evans, who also leads the work with some of the youth here in Oakland. That being said, a little bit about my A through G story, y'all. So, for myself, even being involved in this work now, I didn't even know what A through G was in high school, right? So I went to Oakland Community High School where, I'm gonna be real, I had the privilege of not being able to know, but my school still creating a pathway for me to be A through G eligible by the time I graduated. What this meant is that my school put in place the pathway for us to make sure that we took 2 years of history, 4 years of English, 3 years of math, but 4 is recommended, 2 years of science, but 3 is recommended, 2 years of language other than English. For me, I took Spanish, and then 1 year of art and 1 year of an elective. All right. So these are the classes that you need to take in order to be A through G eligible by the time you graduate your senior year. And the important thing is that you have to get a C or higher in these classes. All right. So this, we're gonna dig into this conversation right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and introduce my brother. Let me go ahead and add him to the stream. Marquise, welcome.
Blessings, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, brother. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. I am Marquise Evans. I am the financial literacy teacher at Bridge Academy. I teach 5th through 8th grade, and I also am the program manager for Energy Converters.
Awesome. And you want to tell a little bit about just Energy Converters, and then a little bit about your A through G story.
So pretty much, to be honest, I didn't know anything about A through G until I came to California. Of course, in Georgia, we just call it, during my time, it was college prep and vocational. And so pretty much my story with that was, of course, I took the easy way out my freshman year. I didn't want to take none of the Spanish classes, so I actually took some of those vocational Because I always had I knew I was gonna go to college, but I didn't think that I had to have college prep classes. I thought that I was just gonna ball out on the basketball court, and then
Mm,
I was gonna get picked up, and they're gonna figure everything else out. But by the time I got to like my junior and my senior year, that's when I really like realized I really wanted to go to college. So it was a bunch of classes that I had to kind of take my senior year, because your senior year is supposed to be like your chill year. So
yeah.
I had to actually like double up on some math classes so I could actually get those requirements to apply. And even when I did get accepted into college, I had to take some freshman introduction classes that didn't even count towards my credits for as graduating, because I did not have some of those classes taken in high school. So coming out here to Oakland, just seeing that situation, it kind of brought me back to my high school experience. Just I feel like kids at 13 or 14 are given a life changing decision at a young age. It's like, what route are you going to take? And I
Mhm.
feel like adults are not doing their job, but just being adults and just like stepping in, just knowing what's better for this child and guiding them through the process. And what our A through G report is pretty much a call to action, like on just our agentic solutions for us as teachers and parents and students, but also like a call to action for like board members and whoever is in leadership to make some type of change to elevate this academic experience for our scholars, because it's unnecessary how only 35% of our Black scholars were A through G eligible, and 47 of our Latino scholars. You feel me? It's like,
Yeah,
what's going on?
and I have a little bit. Let me go ahead and add it as well, man. So for our folks who are on here live, we got 4 folks on here, which is dope. But we got some of that data here, right? And like just to let folks know, like this came from Energy Convertors and the work that they were doing throughout last year, and they had a release party which happened in the fall at Orem Prep Academy. Um, but like this is the data that you guys found, right? That the students who you guys work with found, right? So um, for Black students, 35% completed their A-3 requirements, right? For Latinx students, only 47 completed the A-3 requirements, which is like you got to really think about hearing it firsthand. Like it doesn't sound too bad, right? Because you're like 35, 847, but when you actually think about the numbers, like that's really low,
Yeah,
crazy low.
yeah.
And you want like Marquise, you want to tell me a little bit like when you were when students actually found this information out, how did they feel about it?
It was shocking. And then when you actually put the percentages into actual numbers, it looks worse. You feel me? So it's
Yeah,
like, of course, they was heated about it, but for them, it was just a shock to them, because of course, like in high schools, they're gonna promote, oh yeah, they graduated X amount of students. Like even in our research, I wish I could find a page, but I think a couple of the high schools had like a 90% graduation rate. But then you look at the A through G requirements, it's like, yo, fam, what's up? You feel me?
I,
So
I, I got you, bro. I know exactly what you're talking about. Look,
exactly, yeah, yes, sir, right there.
yeah. So like what we see here for our folks who are tuning in or tuning in later on is like Oakland Tech, for example, right?
Mhm.
The cohort for Black students, the cohort of 127 and 114 of those students graduated. Like that's amazing, right? And when you hear that, you're like, oh wow, Oakland Tech's doing an amazing job graduating students. But then when we see that little data right there of students who met the A through G requirements from those who graduated, what is that? 53%. So that's about what 55 students um, who actually graduated being able to go to a UC or a CSU.
It's like they're selling dreams. Like,
Yeah.
yes, you can go to college, but these are the results.
Yeah, I mean it's like it's crazy to think about it because and like you were just saying a little earlier, it's like so many students at freshman year, they don't know if they're gonna go to college yet or not. Like
Mhm.
that's not at the top of the priority. And even for myself as a freshman, we're trying to fit in, right? We're trying to make ourselves know. We're trying to be might trying to be that popular kid, whatever it might be, at freshman. Your education isn't at the top of the priority, right, at the moment. But once you start going into your, end of your sophomore year, junior year, and your senior, like if you're barely trying to, think about getting those A-to-G requirements completed or whatever it may be, like it's gonna be too late. You're gonna be way behind.
And to be honest, it's all about discipline as well too, because even some adults are in that discipline just to think about the future, 4 years in the future. Oh, well, I'm a freshman. I'm like some of our kids, they're actually surviving daily. They're not thinking about like their senior year. They're like, what do I need to do to now? Like right now in this moment. You feel me? And so it's like we're giving, I ain't gonna say they are giving scholars just this opportunity just to choose whatever they want. Because I didn't even know anything about these until I came out here as well too. Like my high school, we didn't have these. You had no choice but to make a C to pass the class. If you didn't make that C, you failed. You feel me? So it's like either you pass the class or you fail it. Like, or you got to take it over. It's not no, let me just give you this D just to like pass you on. And that's what it really, I think that's the messaging sometimes how it come across. Like they just get a scholar D and just pass them on. So.
And I mean, let's like take a second to look at one Dewey, right? Because we take Dewey here, and I think the number is about 49. Correct me if I'm wrong, Marquise. And it's just a little bit smaller. Right?
Oh, 69. 69.
Okay. So 69 students, seniors, right?
Black seniors.
Black seniors at Dewey. And out of those 69, 24 graduated, and 0%. So 0 of those students.
Yes.
Like,
and then even with Rusdale, with the come on, man, 170. And this for our Latina scholars, basically 170 seniors in that senior cohort. 57 graduated, only 2% were A through G eligible.
It pisses me off seeing this data, like, and this isn't the first time I've seen this data, but just looking at it again, like, it just goes to show, like, how I'm gonna say, like, disrespectful it is to our Black and brown students and our Black and brown families in Oakland. Like, how are we failing our families, our students this bad? And the fact that it's a continuation school, Marquise, like.
And that's the thing. So it's just the fact that these are 2 continuation schools. First of all, Dewey, they house the 3rd most Black scholars of that senior cohort. Rusdale, they house the 3rd most Latinx or Latina scholars for that cohort. And that for them, it's just like we're pushing our Black and our Latino scholars like just out. Like that's what school push out basically what it is, like clear definition of it. And it's like what is the success story for these scholars that don't make it to college? We already know colleges, they say college is not for everyone, but it's just like, what is the success rate? Show me the success rate. Show me like scholars that go to college compared to scholars that did not go to college, and show me that comparison. It's just like we're giving them the choice of not completing these requirements, because we never know. They may not want to go to college now, but who would have say they turn 23, 24, 25, they may change their mind and want to go back then. And that's the part where it's just like, that's where adults got to step in and be adults.
Be real for a second, like students, and both of us, you're actually you're an actual teacher, Marquise, so kudos to you. I just work with some of these students, right, and kind of take them through, what's going on, inform them, give them knowledge, and really try to empower them, right, to advocate for themselves. But something I always ask students when I meet them for the first time, when I start talking to them the first time, is like, do you want to go to college? And if it's a yes, it's like, oh, awesome, like, what college trying to go to, like, kind of give them that college talk. And they say no, like, how come? And it's understandable, like, not every student wants to go to college. Yes. But you gotta be real with them, like, hey, it's gonna be a little bit harder, it might be a little bit harder. Before we move on to the next topic, like, for me, it's very easy for me like to have gotten into construction, right? And it's a little bit off topic, but for me, like, a lot of people from my community are like, construction is an easy way to make some good money. Not easy way, it's hard work, but it's a good way to make some money. And for my dad, he always valued education, right? He's like, look, if you want to get into construction, you can do it. It's easy. Your whole family's in construction. But you really want to, like, have to break your back in the sun, working
Manual labor every day.
right? And it's like that's that real talk that I got. That was like, nah, you know what? Let me stick with let me stick with my education for a bit longer then. But those are the talks that we gotta have with some of these students, especially at a young age. Like, look, when it comes down to it, at your senior year, if you don't want to go to college, that's your choice. But our role as educators, our role the role as a school is to make sure that they're creating this pathway. That way, if at a freshman, they're still taking the classes that they need to take, they're passing all those A through G classes with the senior higher, and when they get to the senior year, if they change their mind, they're like, you know what, I do want to go to college. Boom, they're able to apply to these schools and not be held back.
It's like giving them a choice. I look at it like this. I love analogies. It's like a basketball rim. Like
Mm.
goal is 10 feet. Like if you want to dunk, like you're gonna have to do what you need to do to get up there and dunk. Like that's why they got strength and conditioning coaches and all this stuff. Like your coach is gonna make sure that you get to that level. They're not gonna lower the rim. But I
Mm.
feel like in the education world, it's just like they lower the rim because they feel like it's too much of a job to actually equip our scholars with the knowledge and the tools that they need to actually get over the rim. You feel me?
And that's like a perfect transition
Yeah.
into the next topic, Marquise, because there's so many like a little bit of insight to our folks, listening in or when you watch it, like currently that's what's going on right now with with our agency campaign that we're doing. There's a proposed policy that's going to be proposed to the board that's around A through G, and with the feedback that they're receiving from the community, a lot of it comes from, a little bit of like misconceptions about the A2G campaign and what the true purpose of it is. So some of those misconceptions, Marquise, are that dumping the D is only going to lower the standard for students. That's one, right? Dumping the D is only going to discourage students, making it much harder to pass. And then the last one that I've been also hearing, right, is like dumping the D is only going to decrease graduation rates for Black and Brown students, right? So like, I don't know, Marquise, tell me what pops to your head when and then you probably heard some other kind of misconceptions as well. Like, what pops to your head about them?
Do your job. Like let's break this down. So the first one is WD is only going to lower the standards for students. First of all, the standard y'all already lowering it yourselves. You feel me? Like it's about setting that high expectation for our scholars. It goes back to like this giving them the tools to actually make it happen instead of giving them an excuse to fail. Basically, they're giving them an excuse to fail. And for us as unmotivated students, like that's I don't even know how to respond to that without being disrespectful, but it's just like it's your job as a teacher to build that culture, as a school leader to build that culture, to build that competitiveness in your scholars, and teach them on why is it important for them to achieve at the highest like level of academics excellence as possible,
Mm.
versus like teaching them like, oh yeah, you just come in my class, just put minimal effort, you get a D and just pass on. Because no, and even with that, it's not setting the right message to scholars. It's like they just put in bare minimum, like getting D's. It's like do your job to make sure you provide them with the tools. And for us as decreasing the graduation rate, like it seems like that's all they're really worried about because obviously like they praise that like we graduated this many scholars. This gonna really show like if you're really doing your job or not with your scholars graduating now. Now I feel like this is actually a call to attention now because it's easy for you to say, oh yeah, we graduated 90% of our scholars. Now that if this D is taken away with you, what you got to promote now you have no choice but to do your job. So I feel like dumping the D will actually hold people accountable for making sure that they equip their scholars with what they need. Because and then also with the dumping the D, it's not just about lowering the standards, like I mean making it harder and more difficult for students. The purpose of it is basically one to inform parents, because of course, like if you got a D on your transcript, you're not getting accepted into that college. Like point blank period. So it's like that is a red flag. It's letting parents know that this is a red flag. And also it's just like it's mandatory. It's a call to action saying, yo, if you're going to highlight the students who are graduating, also highlight how many of those students were A through G eligible as well too.
Yeah.
Point in case, you feel me? And then going back to what I was saying about how they say everybody how college is not for everyone. Is it like, okay, if college is not for everyone, show me the success rate for the scholars that did not meet these requirements. Then we can have another discussion there.
Yeah, and the thing is like, I mean, it doesn't really confuse me, right? But it's like there's some charter schools and some district schools that are actually doing really good when it comes to these A-to-G requirements. I mean, like A-to-G completion rates, right? CCPA, one of those examples, right? So, what like, why is it that other schools can't look at them, right? Especially like I think charter schools are doing a really good job with it, but there's a huge division going on right now, right? And I think there's some district school leaders that don't even want to get involved with some charter schools and collaborate with them to see how, like, what is it that charter schools are doing to do well. But there's CCPA like that's doing a really good job. And I think when we look at data, they're like in that top 10 um, for like completion rates, right? For teacher completion rates. So why is it that some schools can't collaborate with their partner district schools to see what they're doing well?
And that's the part that made me think, like, what is the motive? Let's just say I'm an organization.
Mm-hmm.
My mission is to elevate minds. Let's just say there's another organization over there. You know what I'm saying? This is our I guess our rival organization. Their mission is to elevate minds. At the end of the day, it's just like both our mission is to elevate minds. So why would we not support each other? If they elevate some minds over there, I see you, pimp. You're doing your
Sure.
thing. If I'm elevating minds, they should be clapping me up. So it's like, if I'm competing against this person, it's like, what is the motive? What is the motive? Like, do I really want to elevate minds? Because obviously, the work that I'm doing over here, and I'm speaking for certain people, the work that's being done is like it's disservicing our kids. But then you look across there at another school where it's like, yo, they're actually doing what they need to do. They're graduating their scholars. Their scholars are graduating with these requirements. It's like, what is it that they're doing that we're not doing? Versus like, oh, let's just try to we hate them. Let's try to get them shut down. Like, for what?
Mm-hmm.
The
They're
fuck
doing a good job. Like, it's like, because it's like, if a school is doing a good job, why wouldn't you want to like tune in and hear what's up for them? Like, why won't you want to take some notes? Like, is it a pride thing or what is it?
Exactly. And that's why I think, like, what's the alternative? What's the alternative motive? Like, I think I said that right, but what is like your motive? Like, what is your plan? If you really want to elevate minds, it shouldn't matter where the mind get elevated at, because that's part of your mission. Like, hobby, if we go outside, you know what I'm saying, and I see a homeless person, if I'm not gonna be like slap the food out your hand because I want to get him my food. It's just like, yo, I want to make sure this guy eats. You feel me? So it's just like, when it comes to this system, it's not like that. I feel like it's too much of a battle of who is going to elevate the minds versus like, yo, what is the strategy that is working, and let us rock with this strategy.
And I want to go to the comments real quick. We have Kim, we have Dr. Cliff Thompson, David Castillo. One of the comments that David Castillo actually said was, all schools should be working together to share effective practices. Keep politics out of it. And dude, that's something that I always keep on saying, especially like in these board meetings. Like, keep politics out the classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the role as of a teacher is to teach our students and making sure that they give the best education possible. Sometimes it can be difficult, but we got to do our best. Like, we're educators, we got to do our best.
It's like, who said that?
David Castillo.
Appreciate it. Spot on.
But yeah, man. I mean, we can definitely move on to this next topic as well. One, Marquise, y'all, Energy Converters, the work that you did with the students, the work that you guys did as an organization, y'all killed it with this A through G report. And, I want to know, like, a little bit now, like, what is the work that you guys are doing right now with the Energy Converters?
So we actually kind of hit on that topic earlier, how we pointed out how Dewey Academy and Rusdale are continuation schools, and they house the third most Black and Latino scholars. So we actually been looking at school pushout in Oakland. It's just like, what is going on in Oakland from freshman year to senior year, where there's so many Black and Latino scholars being basically pushed out of their schools. And then I could just even give like a just like a teaser. We really found out that is some of the scholars are not being expelled, like they're not being suspended from school, and it's like some of the few of the scholars who were expelled, it's like there wasn't no there was no system put in place of suspensions or anything like that for them to get removed from their school. So it's like, what is going on where these scholars are getting taken out? And we really found out a lot of our scholars are actually behind on their credits as well too, and they're using the continuation schools to get ahead of their credits. But why is it the Black and our Latino scholars though? So
I'm like, why is it always them that are being pushed into these schools, into these continuing schools? Is that what you're saying?
yes, that's what we're diving into, and we're actually coming up with solutions on like what can teachers do, what can school leaders do, like because one of the biggest things that's been coming up is a lot of scholars are not feeling like they belong at their schools, and
Mm-hmm.
also like we just say if there is an unwanted behavior in the classroom, like that teacher is not having those restorative conversations with these scholars, they're just basically kicking them out of the classroom, giving them consequences, punishments, and not even repairing that teacher student relationship. And it's just like as a teacher, yes, you're supposed to be proficient in your subject, but at the end of the day, you do work with kids. You work like, and I use kids as well because like under 18, you're still a child.
Yeah.
So like, it's your job as an adult to be an adult, to be the leader and the bigger person in the situation to repair that relationship. So
Yeah, and I mean, I want to first give a big shout out to teachers because I feel like being a teacher is not easy work, right? So I do want to give y'all a big shout out for the work that you do, and what I've learned, like you know, being involved in this work a bit, but also doing some like counseling work with other like summer camps that I've done, with some students. It's like you as a teacher, as a counselor at a school, whatever position you may be, if you're working with students, you play such an important role in those students' lives.
mhm.
And Marquise, this is you. You're a teacher. Like you have such an impact on these students. Like you see them at times. You probably see them more than they probably see you more than they see their parents at times, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
that's the honest truth. So as a teacher, like they look at you as a role model. They look at you as somebody who's an influence in their lives. And if you have that relationship with a student, they're gonna listen to you. They're gonna be rolling with you. They're gonna be um, I was using another word, but like they're gonna be like a side. You're gonna like they're gonna be rocking with you. And I think
mhm.
that's something important. But you gotta build that relationship, especially from kids from Oakland. They see stuff. They're not gonna just give you that respect. You gotta earn that.
And then even from Oakland, like a lot of our students, we deal with a lot of teacher turnover as well too. So a lot of times building that trust is very important because sometimes when a teacher come in that classroom, they're looking like, oh, they only gonna be here for about like a month or so before they quit on us. So it's just like we ain't gotta respect this person. But when you got a teacher that actually come in that classroom every day, and to be honest, building relationships with kids, it's not giving them passing grades. It's not like being nice to them, it's actually holding them accountable. I'm gonna be honest, I bonded with a lot of my kids when I actually gave them like a teacher detention, where they
Mhm.
had to actually come to me during their recess or at the school, and like we have a conversation about what went on in class, where I allow them facilitate it. I listen to them first. I listen and see like why did you do this, and from there we can actually come up with a solution on okay, cool. This is why Mr. Evans feel like this is wrong. Also, for the sake of this classroom, this is why that action took away from the lesson. So in the like next time, how do we solve this? After that, I'm giving a positive phone call to the parent, like Lena, because if I'm gonna call you, give you something negative, I do need to call you with a positive. Yo, Miss Johnson, I know that last week said the session wasn't, you know what I'm saying, getting off at the right start, but I just want to let you know like he did turn it around. Just giving like communication. That's the
Mhm.
biggest thing, just having that communication with the parent and that student, because of course kids love getting those positive phone calls home, and actually parents love it as well too, because you'll have some parents where you call their phone like, hey, yo, Mr. Evans from whoop to whoop, what my boy done did now. Oh no, no, ma'am. I'm actually calling for something positive. They automatically think it's something negative because they're so used to getting those negative calls. So whenever you show a scholar that you had a relationship with a parent, they gonna rock with you because at the end of the day, they know that the accountability is not just in the classroom, but you're communicating that to the parents as well too.
Exactly. And let's bring it back to like our HLG campaign and the work that FIA has been doing and Energy Convertors has been doing. We've been collaborating with this HLG project, man. Again, want to give big credit and appreciation to the work that you guys are doing with Energy Converters, and really, in my opinion, the work that you're doing and the work that Dr. Charles Cole is doing, like putting putting that pathway for the work that we're doing as well with FIA. Like that's like we're like going hand in hand with the work that we're doing. But when it comes to this A to G campaign, right, it's like our demands is one, dump the D, two, right to know, right, and that's when it comes to like that building agency part. And
Mm-hmm.
like we said it so much, Charles says it so much, like we gotta build that agency amongst our people, amongst our community, making sure that they know about these A to G requirements. Because once parents are involved and they know about it, and then students are involved, then it's not up to the school anymore. It's up to the parents and students, right? They're gonna be going to these schools and be like, "Yo, what's up with my kid's A to G requirements classes?" Right? Like, he got a D in this. When can he get into another class that will kind of like get him credit for this class, get her credit for this class, right? So and then the last one is right to remediate, right? When it comes to like a class, if a student is missing some credit, like there has to be some kind of structure put in place for a student to retake those credits, to remake them. That way, when the time they get to their senior year, they're able to apply to a 4-year college, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like right now, what's currently going on with like A to G, like I said a little earlier, like there's this policy that's being proposed, and I think the goal is for it to be proposed either this spring, that's the goal, or to be determined at this point now, right? But this kind of goes into our closing, Marquise, and you know, with with all the pressure that we put on the board, right, as a community about A to G and this issue, earlier in the fall, we were able to get 7 out of the 7 board members on board with A to G, right, which is a big win. Like as crazy as the OUSD board is, we were able to get all them support this issue of A to G. Unfortunately, with less pressure being put on the board, and kind of like a lot of the attention being given to school closures, which is understandable. But what that meant is that there's been a lot less talk about quality education and how we're gonna be able to work on our education and create better opportunities for our students in Oakland. All of our Oakland students, right? Like, how can we better that education? And this is one of the ways, right? So right now, there's some uncertainty about where board members are when it comes to this issue of A through G. So let's do a little closing, Marquise, and big shout out to Dr. Cliff Thompson because he's on here, which is a DC, a District 7 board member, right? So thank you for being here, Dr. Cliff Thompson. But what would you like to say to each of these board members? And let's just call them out. We have board member Sam Davis, we had board member Amy E, we had a board member Vance Cedric Williams, board member Gary E, board member Mike Hutchinson, board member Shanti Gonzalez, and our man who's on here, board member Cliff Thompson as well.
The
What would you
biggest thing, I really would like to know, like, what do they prioritize? Like, what is your priority? Because I do remember us having a conversation with a particular board member, and they seemed very uninterested on what we was talking about. And it's just like, yo, you do understand, like, we are failing so many scholars when it comes to this. You feel me? And it's like you have a lack of concern in this area. So what is it that is really on your mind, and why are you in this position? What is your motive? What do you prioritize? And I think that's the biggest thing, is knowing like where people's priorities are at. Because when you got situations like this, I feel like this is supposed to be on go. Like, this is supposed to be automatic. Academic excellence is like the main priority in education. Like I get the social emotional and all that other stuff. Yes, that's very important as well too. But I think a lot of people are forgetting about the basics, and that is to make sure that our scholars are academically prepared for the next level. And I just really feel like that should be a priority for like all board members. But it is sad that you got to put pressure on someone to actually like look into this. But I do want to salute on the positive side. I do want to salute those board members that are in those positions and doing their position well. Because I already know it's like any job. There is a workload. There's certain things that you got to do, and I don't even know. It may be some politicking in there as well too. But just the word of the day is do your job. That's basically what it is.
I love that, Marquise. I think we'll end it off really quick, just like um, to what you were saying. It's like this is an issue, right? A through G is an issue that has no border. And when I say that, it's like again, there's so much division, especially being pushed in these like different OUSD board meetings. And A through G is an issue that's not for either one district schools or for district school students or for either charter school students. Like this is for Oakland as a whole. This is gonna empower and improve our Oakland education system as a whole, right? So why is it that there's still like some pushback when it's gonna improve the education of our Black and Brown students in Oakland?
That goes back to what is the motive? Like why your why? It goes back to your why and your purpose. Why are you in this position? Is it for the title, or do you really want to bring some change to this? And I get it too. Because it's all accountability. Like it's accountability on our leaders, it's accountability on teachers, and it's also accountability on parents and the scholar as well too. And it goes back to like the right to know. Um, yes, our parents, we have to educate our parents. We also have to like you said, build that agency in them, where it's just like they are going to the school and making noise about the purposeful things or whatever. Because there are parents that will come to the school and be about their life, but they're about their life in the wrong direction. You feel me? So it's just about educating our parents. And so therefore, if we are going to push leaders to do their job, it's just like we have to do our job as well too. So this whole thing can operate and function.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, any last comment, Marquise? I just want to say I definitely appreciate you jumping on, brother, and always a pleasure when we have an opportunity to collaborate. Anything you wanna finish off with?
To be honest, I really feel like we hit on everything. It just I think I think we're leaving with the word agency and just like everybody's just doing their job and playing their role or whatever. So like The Rock says, know your role and shut your mouth. Like just get it. So
Awesome. All right, brother. Well, thank you for joining, and I definitely appreciate working with you.
yes, sir.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. Awesome. Well, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in for today's podcast. And yeah, definitely encourage y'all to join in for the next one. Um, and I think I'll end it with this. This is a platform for us to really get some students, some teachers, other community leaders, and even board members to jump on and just have a conversation. What we tend to see a lot, in these board meetings is a lot of arguing, a lot of pointing the finger. But what we can never do in these board meetings is have a conversation. And sometimes that's what we need to do. Just have a conversation like what me and Marquise just did. So I really encourage folks, who listened tonight. If you're a board member, we're gonna send it to you. I want you to tune in, but also, you know, reach out, or I'll reach out as well. But I definitely want to sit down and have a conversation, and we can do it through here or another platform, whatever you wish. But it's time for us to have a conversation, have an honest conversation about these things, because one thing that I've learned about doing this work is that there's never permanent enemies. All right, we can always disagree. There might be some things that we can't come to an agreement about, but we can always have a conversation. And what we have to agree about is that students come first, that we have to empower, we have to give the best education possible to these students in Oakland. All right. That's all, folks. Thanks for joining in, and I'll catch you on next episode. Thank you.